Hey guys, we have a new case review today. This one is from Montech. It's called King 95 and it comes in two variants, the standard and the Pro model. The Pro model includes pre-installed fans as well as a fan and ARGB controller. The case review will be split into three sections like normal. We'll do like an unboxing, going through features and what you get for your money, then go through performance metrics, and then finish up with our opinion and provide you some feedback of what we think about the case. So let's get into it. The first and most important thing about this case is it's kind of a tried and true design. It has design elements from the Lian Li's 011 Dynamic with its dual chamber design. So we have the power supply and drive section with the cable management and then the main section at the front. But it also clearly takes inspiration from the height case as well with the curved glass window. So I like the inspiration between this and I kind of like the look of it. It comes in four different colors. You have black, white, this blue, as well as red. And the fit and finish of it is kind of interesting. So this blue panel over here is plastic, but as you can see, it's actually got this brushed look on it. I really like that, especially the fact that when you're using USBs at the front, you're probably gonna scratch over time. I think on here, it's not gonna be as noticeable because it already has this brushed finish on it. One striking thing, or a bit of a confusing thing that kind of got us, is it's wavy lines. Let me show you. So on the top and also the side, we have this pattern where from one angle, it looks like it's straight, and from the other angle, you can clearly tell that it has a wavy design. It breaks your brain a bit. I think it's really, really cool. I like when case designers stick away from just using standard mesh and do something a bit more different. I think it looks interesting. And it's got basically all of its panels that come out without any tools required. So the top panel just has push pin connectors, and it also includes one of the 3 dust filters. So as you can see here, these are the pins. And to reduce the vibration from the case against, well, the case itself, it also has this little bit of a gasket. So it kind of just lays flush against the case. Then we have the side panel, captive screw, and then it kind of just comes off. So this is the screw that you have. It's kind of nice. Again, no tools required. And then we have another mesh. What's interesting, most of the time with these kind of cases, you only have a mesh on one side, exactly where the fans are located. Montech has gone with just installing the mesh across the whole side panel, which is kind of cool. And last filter is the bottom one. And again, it goes across the whole size of the case. This one's a bit more flimsy, but they normally are. But it's nice and fine, and you know, it slides right underneath. Next is the side panel. So it's actually broken down to 2 separate panels. So we have the side, and obviously you've got the curve here, which easily comes off like any normal side panel. And lastly, we have the front one. So you push it out and you slide it upwards. So it has little retentions over here. As you can see, they've gone for the curved design, and I think it looks really, really cool. But that's not all. The thing about this case, the front panel actually is interchangeable. So in the box, we actually have a mesh front panel, which you can install here. And we'll show that a bit later on. Now that the panels are off, you have all this space that you can work in. You basically have no restriction, which is very convenient. I've mentioned that the Pro case has fans. So that's the main difference here. So we've got the fans and they're connected to the fan controller at the back. It comes with 6 pre-installed fans. You have 2 140mm fans on the side here, and then you have 4 120s. You've got 3 at the bottom and 1 at the back for exhaust. And as you can see, some of the fans are actually reversed. And we'll get into that a bit later on in the performance metrics. But that's a kind of a cool approach that Montech has gone with. The other thing is this side bracket can be turned to the front. So if you were to have the mesh panel at the front here to have that through airflow, this can be turned over here. As far as the additional mounts are concerned, you still have a mount at the top. So you can install the radiator here or fans. So you can have a 360mm radiator or 320mm fans. Alternatively, you can have 240mm fans. So this is 120mm fan connectors and this is 140. So you can have 2 or 3, depending on what you want to do. And the whole panel does come off. So there's 4 screws at the top. Assemble your AO and put it back in, which is very, very convenient. As far as the radius are concerned, you can also install a, well, 240 or 280 here as well if you wanted to. I would go with 280, but a few things to consider. You can have a maximum of 65mm clearance with the radiator over here, so it doesn't interfere with the card. And if you have that, you do have still restrictions. At the same time, if you were to turn this across and have fans here, you have restrictions for the card as well. As far as the kit, you also get accessories. So there's a whole box of stuff in here, starting with actually a very detailed manual, a nice box with all the accessories. So all the screws are in different locations and they've all labeled, so it's much easier to set up. A bracket. So this is a bottom bracket for installing additional drives. So this case can support up to 8 3.5-inch hard drives, which is a bit insane. So you can actually remove the fans, the existing fans from the bottom, and install this bracket with all the hard drives, which is a bit crazy. Besides the hard drive bracket, you also have the aforementioned front mesh. So if you're sick of having the nice curved glass screen on the front, you can make it mesh. It's a bit of a different look. It's a bit more standard look, but I don't know. If you want that extra performance, I suppose you can go this way, but realistically speaking, if you're getting this case, go glass. So it's big amount of space at the back. You can actually install 2 power supplies. So you can remove this drive cage and put the power supply in here as well. So you can have 2 power supplies for whatever reason you want. Or you can install a bunch of drives. So you've got 2 caddies over here, and then there's still a bunch of positions you can install. What Montech has done is actually put a little bit of a hinge at the back here. So I wish this had some sort of a click mechanism, so you didn't need to unscrew it, but 2 screws is not too bad. And voila. So what's interesting is on this panel, you can install 2 full-size hard drives on here. They'll be a bit tight, but you can still do it. As well as 3 SSDs. That's at the same time, so you can have just filled with drives. Bit insane, but that's pretty cool. You've got this bracketry that goes obviously across. You've also got a bunch of space here just for cable management. That's like a lot of space. And once I do the build, we'll see how much space is actually left over, but I think there's plenty in here. As I mentioned, the other thing that's included is the fan and ARGB controller. All the fans are actually already pre-wired, so all you need to do is just plug it in straight into the motherboard. But you've got the controller here, and all the ports are nicely laid out, so it's very, very convenient. Since it's ARGB controller, all the fans already include ARGB, as well as the case. So as you can see here, the white bits will light up, and I can't wait to get into building with it. So that's the next step. I'll build our test system and see what its performance is like and provide some feedback. And by the way, we will also be doing a full build in this a bit later on. So look out for that video in the future. And if you have any special requests or something that you want us to build within this system, let us know. We'll consider doing that for you. Having completed the build, I'm happy to report that it was surprisingly straightforward. The case looks really good, and Montech has actually incorporated several thoughtful quality of life features. The first one is the aforementioned labeled screw organizer. This little detail greatly simplifies the building process and makes it especially convenient for those who are new to this. Having labeled screws can prevent a lot of common issues, and any unused parts from the initial setup can be neatly stored away for future use. I also appreciate the inclusion of a door at the back of the case for its utility in concealing cables and providing extra space for drives. However, it can be somewhat cumbersome during the building process. When opened, the door tends to flap around, which can be inconvenient, especially since I prefer to set up a PC while it's laying flat on the side of the desk. I wish I had a little retention mechanism so I could just hold it in place when turning the case around. Additionally, when the case is in an upright position and you're connecting cables, it becomes a choice between reaching through the door or going around to route the correct cables. While these are minor points, they're worth mentioning for someone considering this build. For those who prefer building their PC with the case in a vertical orientation, you'll appreciate the middle standoff feature in this case. It conveniently holds the motherboard in place, making it easy to screw it in securely. As for the cabling, the case has plenty of access points all around, each outfitted with the rubber grommets. It's typical for larger cables to occasionally dislodge these grommets, but they're not overly difficult to put back in place.
Once all of your cables are organized, the case looks really clean. There's even enough space to plug in the top power cable after the fact. But if you plan to use fans or radiator at the top, I would recommend doing power and other cables on the motherboard first. Another feature I'm particularly fond of is the large cable ties at the back. They're great for compressing cables if you're tight on space, but you'll likely find that a rare necessity, given the generous amount of room available in this case. One thing that really stood out to me is the front header connection. Montech went as far as making it into a solid block, and I love it. Normally, plugging in the front header can be one of the more tedious and fiddly parts of the build, but in this case, it was remarkably straightforward and hassle-free. The other thing that was surprisingly easy is the side-front fan conversion. All you have to do is remove the frontmost bottom fan, remove 2 thumb screws, then move the bracket and secure it in 2 locations. Bottom one is obvious, while for the top one, there's a small bracket that becomes accessible once you loosen the screw. After that, all you need to do is screw in the bottom fan back in, and you're ready to go. Impressively, I managed to complete the entire process in about 2 minutes, without the need of adjusting or unplugging any cables. If you're using a larger graphics card, then you might need to remove that first to make the space. But even with this extra step, the process remains uncomplicated and user-friendly. Moving the fans to the front of the case also means you can utilize the front mesh panel for optimal airflow. Personally, I find myself liking the look of the mesh front over glass. The joint in the glass setup doesn't entirely win me over. As for the pricing, Montech has gone pretty aggressive here, starting $109 for the non-Pro version and $149 for the Pro. There is a bit of a premium for the colored options, but overall it's not excessively priced. Now off to performance, and here it's not doing too great as compared to the other airflow focused cases. In our noise normalized 40 dBA test, it hits low 60s above ambient on both CPU and GPU. When we remove the limits and set the fans to 100%, it hits 51 dBA, which is exactly the same as the 903 Max, but still on the toasty side. One thing I found interesting though, the fan pitch is not annoying whiny type, but more of a forced wind type, which is not as bad as I expected. With all of this in mind, I'm actually still rather impressed with the King 95 case from Montech. You're getting a nice looking case for a good price. And to be honest, the Pro version is probably the way to go, as it includes 6 fans that do a reasonable job, look nice and already are pre-wired in. Which means all you need to do is connect up the fan and RGB headers to the motherboard and you're ready to go. Interestingly, this is the second Montech case I've reviewed, and both stood out as excellent value propositions. For those looking for a more budget-friendly option, I recommend checking out our review of the A903 Max. I'm curious to hear what you think about this case. Do you see it as a worthy competitor to the likes of the Lian Li and Height cases? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Also, if you want to check out any of the items covered in the video, the links are in the description below. I hope you found this useful. Don't forget to smash that thumbs up and subscribe for more. We'll see you guys in the next one.